Fox News alert now because Marco Rubio, the camp, slamming Ted Cruz today over some dirty campaign tricks. It all stems over a CNN report claiming Rubio's advisors had suggested that he drop out of the race before the Florida primary next week. Well, that's an allegation that Rubio's team vehemently denied on CNN yesterday.
Jamie's report was utter nonsense. She did not contact the campaign prior to coming on the show last hour and reporting that. It is 100% absolutely false. I think CNN is doing a disservice to voters by airing that sort of reporting without even checking with the campaign. Wolf, I have a lot of respect for you, but I'm going to ask you to stop reading that sort of fiction on air because it is not true at all. If Jamie had checked with the campaign, if Jamie had good sources in the campaign, she would have known that that is not true. That is fiction, and CNN should stop reporting it.
Wow. Well, shortly after that, Cruz's team allegedly sent out this email to voters in Hawaii. Remember, they're voting today with the subject line, "Wasted Vote," and outlining why voting for Marco Rubio would be a mistake. Rubio's team calling the move disgusting. Joining me now to talk more about this, the perfect person. Alex Conant is the communications director for the Rubio campaign. Great to have you back on The Real Story. What is the real story in your mind? Because we're just getting word right now from the Cruz camp, from their spokesperson, Alice Stewart. She's saying that that email that went out to Hawaii supporters, Republicans, was that it was not sanctioned by the Cruz for President campaign, that they admit that some volunteers actually sent that out, but it wasn't from them. Your response?
Well, I mean, this is what we've seen from the Ted Cruz campaign over and over again. I mean, ask Ben Carson. Remember, on the eve of the Iowa caucuses, at the Iowa caucuses, Ted Cruz's campaign sent around emails of another false report from CNN that said that Ben Carson was dropping out of the race. I think it did real damage to Ben Carson. It was a dirty trick by Ted Cruz, and they've been caught again. I mean, last night they...
So you don't believe that it's just the volunteers? Do you actually believe that this was sanctioned by the Cruz campaign? And if so, do they owe you an apology?
Ted Cruz's communications director was tweeting last night this false report. So I have no doubt that Ted Cruz's supporters and volunteers in Hawaii saw her tweets and turned around and started sending out emails. Look, there's a pattern and a culture within the campaign, within the Cruz campaign, where the truth just doesn't matter. And it is said at the top. Remember, he's already had to fire one communications director because he was spreading misinformation about Marco Rubio, questioning Marco's Christian faith. It is deeply disturbing behavior, but we've seen it time and again from the Ted Cruz campaign. There is no place for that in the Republican primary. Let's have a debate about the ideas that these candidates have. Let's have a debate about the future of the country. Instead, we see these dirty tricks from the Cruz campaign over and over again, and it's really unfortunate that they would take a false report on CNN, a report that they knew was false, and then would spread it over social media and emails the way that they did. It's outrageous.
So you're still standing by the fact that that report on CNN, not true, that no advisors in the Rubio campaign, including yourself, have suggested to him that he should bow out before his home state of Florida next week?
It's categorically false, and CNN did not even check with the campaign before they went to air with that report. That was what was so outrageous about it. They didn't even check with us. They just made it up and went on air and reported it. So I appreciated that they were, you know, Wolf let me on air shortly after they reported it to correct the record, to set it straight, but that didn't stop the Cruz campaign from taking the report and spreading it to their people. It was very dishonest behavior by the Cruz campaign.
I want to dig deep into the numbers of what's happening in Florida right now. We reported yesterday on the show, it came out while we were on the air, that the Monmouth University poll showed that your candidate Rubio had gotten, you know, a bit of a jump in the overall vote. He went up to 30%. Donald Trump was still at 38%. But in past polls, he had been down by 18%. Now look at what's on your screen now. This is early voters. It's very interesting. Marco Rubio is winning this battle, 48% to Donald Trump's 23%. But then when you look at the people who have not voted yet, it goes back up to favor Trump. What do you make of it?
Well, what I make of it is that there is only one person in Florida that can beat Donald Trump. And as your previous segment just said, beating Donald Trump in Florida is key to stopping him from becoming the Republican nominee. So I think any viewers right now that are in Florida, if you want to stop Donald Trump, mathematically, the only way to do it is by going today. There's early voting happening now in Florida. Go today and vote for Marco Rubio for president, because if we win Florida, then we will stop Donald Trump from becoming the Republican nominee.
All right, Alex Conant, politics are never dull, and today's another example of that. Great to have you back. Thank you.
Thanks, Gretchen.